In the pre-dawn darkness of Friday, October 13, 1307, royal officials across France prepared to execute sealed orders they had received days earlier. As the first light broke, armed men pounded on monastery doors and commandeered Templar preceptories throughout the kingdom. Knights were dragged from their beds, some still in night clothes, bewildered by the sudden intrusion. "In the name of King Philip IV, you are under arrest." These words echoed across France as the most powerful military order in Christendom found itself blindsided. Jacques de Molay, Grand Master of the Knights Templar, who had only hours before served as pallbearer at a royal funeral, now found himself in chains, facing accusations so shocking they seemed unthinkable. Heresy, idolatry, blasphemy, and unholy practices. What transformed the Templars from Christ's warriors, heroes of the Crusades and bankers to kings, into alleged heretics overnight? Was this merely a cynical power grab by a debt-ridden monarch? Or did the Templars truly possess knowledge so dangerous that the Church itself conspired to erase them from history? Our journey delves into the shadow realm between documented history and enduring mystery, exploring not just who the Templars were, but what they might have known, and why that knowledge may have sealed their fate. The story begins in the aftermath of the First Crusade. Jerusalem had fallen to Christian forces in 1099, but the roads to the Holy City remained perilous for pilgrims. In 1119, a French nobleman named Hugues de Payens approached King Baldwin II of Jerusalem with an unusual proposal. He and 8 other knights would dedicate themselves to protecting travelers on the dangerous roads to Jerusalem. These 9 men took monastic vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, creating a unique hybrid, warrior monks. Baldwin housed them on the Temple Mount in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, believed to be built upon the ruins of Solomon's Temple. This location would give them their name, poor fellow soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, the Knights Templar. For 9 years, these knights operated in obscurity. Historical records show little activity, raising the first of many questions. What were 9 knights really doing during this formative period? The official narrative suggests they were simply guarding roads, but some historians propose a more intriguing possibility. They were excavating beneath the Temple Mount, searching for artifacts or scrolls from the destroyed Jewish temple. The Templars' fortunes changed dramatically when they gained the support of Bernard of Clairvaux, one of the most influential clergymen in Europe. Bernard wrote in praise of the new knighthood, elevating the Templars' mission to divine status. At the Council of Troyes in 1129, the order received official papal recognition and a rule written by Bernard himself. What followed was unprecedented growth. Donations poured in, land, money, sons of noble families. Young men flocked to join the order that had transformed the concept of knighthood into a path to salvation. Kings and nobles, seeking absolution but unable to journey to Jerusalem themselves, gifted vast estates to the Templars. Within decades, the order controlled thousands of properties across Europe and the Middle East. They developed an advanced financial system, becoming Europe's first international bankers. Templars invented financial instruments still used today, including checks, lending systems, and early forms of banking. Their network of preceptories could transfer money across continents, making them indispensable to merchants, nobles, and even monarchs. By 1150, the order that had begun with 9 poor knights had become a state within states, answerable only to the Pope, exempt from local laws, commanding immense wealth, and fielding the most disciplined fighting force in the Christian world. The Templars' military prowess made them legendary. Their distinctive white mantles with red crosses struck fear into Muslim forces. Templars were forbidden to retreat unless outnumbered 3-1, and they never paid ransoms for captured knights, who were expected to fight to the death. Yet their influence extended far beyond combat. During nearly 2 centuries in the Holy Land, the Templars came into contact with Islamic and Jewish scholars, exposing them to mathematics, astronomy, architecture, and medical knowledge far advanced beyond medieval European understanding. They established relations with groups like the Assassins, an Ismaili sect with their own esoteric practices. This cultural exchange raised suspicions in Europe. What foreign ideas were these warrior monks absorbing? When King Philip's men arrested the Templars in 1307, the charges revealed what the Church claimed were the dark secrets of the order. Initiates were forced to deny Christ, spit on the cross, and engage in obscene kissing rituals. Knights worshipped an idol called Baphomet. Secret ceremonies involved desecration of holy objects. The order condoned and encouraged homosexual practices. Templars absolved each other of sins without priestly authority. Under torture, many Templars confessed to these acts, though most recanted when the torture ceased. Jacques de Molay himself initially confessed, then retracted, insisting on his innocence until his execution by burning in 1314. While historical evidence for the specific accusations remains dubious, scholars and mystics have long speculated about what knowledge the Templars might actually have possessed. The Ark and the Grail. Their headquarters on Temple Mount raised persistent rumors that they discovered the Ark of the Covenant or other temple treasures. Later legends connected them with guardianship of the Holy Grail, variously interpreted as a chalice, a bloodline, or esoteric wisdom. Sacred geometry. Templar involvement in cathedral building projects, particularly at Chartres, suggests mastery of geometric principles. Their distinctive round churches, modeled after the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, employed sacred proportions found across ancient cultures. Alternative Christianity. Some historians propose the Templars encountered Gnostic or early Christian texts in the East that contradicted Roman Church teachings, perhaps suggesting Christ was mortal, or emphasizing divine feminine aspects of spirituality through Mary Magdalene. Hermetic traditions. The charges of idol worship may have distorted Templar interest in alchemy, astrology, or other esoteric traditions flourishing in the multicultural Levant. The swift downfall of the Templars reveals a masterclass in medieval power politics. King Philip IV of France, called the Fair for his appearance rather than his character, had already demonstrated his willingness to attack the Church when he attempted to arrest Pope Boniface VIII in 1303. Though that pope died before Philip could bring him to trial, his successor, Clement V, was effectively a French puppet, establishing his court at Avignon rather than Rome. Philip's motivation seemed transparent. Deeply in debt to the Templars after years of wars, he had already expelled Jews and seized assets from Italian bankers. The wealthy Templars represented his last potential source of funds. Yet financial gain alone doesn't explain the ferocity of the attack. The charges against the Templars weren't merely criminal, but existentially threatening to the Church itself. If a holy order operating under direct papal authority had become corrupted into a heretical cult, what did this suggest about the Church's discernment and authority? Several factors aligned to make the Templar suppression possible. 1. Military vulnerability. With the fall of Acre in 1291, the Templars lost their primary purpose as defenders of the Holy Land, making them more vulnerable to criticism. 2. Secretive practices. Their closed meetings, private chapels, and initiations hidden from outsiders fostered suspicion. 3. Financial power. Their banking operations generated resentment from indebted nobles and competing Italian banking houses. 4. Papal weakness. Clement V's dependence on Philip made him reluctant to defend the order, despite their direct papal charter. 5. Torture-based legal system. Medieval jurisprudence considered confession under torture valid evidence, creating a no-win situation for the accused. What followed the arrests was perhaps history's most systematic attempt to erase an organization from memory. The Templar trial records were heavily edited before archiving. Their libraries were dispersed or destroyed. Their monuments were defaced, their symbols banned. Most significantly, the intellectual and spiritual foundations of Templar knowledge were attacked through the academic establishment. The University of Paris, Europe's premier intellectual center, was pressured to condemn Templar teachings without specifying what those teachings contained. This created a scholarly precedent for dismissing Templar knowledge as heretical without actually examining it. While many Templars confessed under torture and dozens were burned at the stake, the fate of thousands of knights outside France remains one of history's compelling mysteries. In England, Germany, and particularly Portugal, where they simply reformed as the Order of Christ, many Templars were acquitted or allowed to join other orders. The most persistent legend involves a Templar fleet sailing from La Rochelle, France, on the night before the arrests, carrying treasure and secret archives. Some traditions claim these ships found refuge in Scotland, where King Robert the Bruce, himself excommunicated, had no reason to enforce papal orders against the Templars. Rosslyn Chapel near Edinburgh, built by the St. Clair family in the 15th century, displays stonework symbolism connecting it to Templar traditions. Its elaborate carvings include plants from the Americas decades before Columbus, a navigator who sailed under the Templar-derived Order of Christ insignia. Several streams of esoteric knowledge that emerged after the Templar suppression show striking parallels to speculated Templar interests. 1. Freemasonry. While claims of direct Templar Masonic lineage are overstated, Masonic rituals include elements reminiscent of Templar initiations and symbolism. The lost word of Masonic tradition parallels the idea of knowledge suppressed by religious authorities. Number 2. Alchemy's Golden Age. The 14th century saw an explosion of alchemical texts in Europe, many employing symbolic language that protected heterodox ideas from religious persecution. 3. Cathedral École. French cathedrals, particularly Chartres, contain architectural and mathematical knowledge preserved in stone rather than vulnerable manuscripts. The sacred geometry employed shows knowledge of proportions dating back to ancient Egypt and Greek mystery schools. Number 4. Rosicrucian manifestos. These early 17th century texts described a secret brotherhood preserving ancient wisdom, appearing just as the scientific revolution began challenging church authority over knowledge. The enduring fascination with the Templars centers on a fundamental question. What knowledge could have been so threatening that it required the destruction of an entire religious military order? Various theories have emerged. Royal bloodline. The controversial theory that the Templars protected descendants of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, threatening the divine right of European monarchies and church authority. Temple treasures. Possession of the Ark of the Covenant or other artifacts with powers beyond medieval understanding. Ancient science. Knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, or natural philosophy that contradicted church teaching about the cosmos. Alternative Gospels. Access to early Christian texts rejected during biblical canonization that presented different versions of Christ's life and teachings. Mystical techniques. Practices for direct spiritual experience that bypassed the need for priestly intermediaries. Since the 18th century, dozens of organizations have claimed Templar succession, from Masonic Templar degrees to modern chivalric orders. The 20th century saw explosive growth in Templar literature, from scholarly examinations to speculative works like Holy Blood, Holy Grail that inspired Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code. This renewed interest reflects our modern questioning of institutional authority and official narratives. The same impulse that may have put the historical Templars at odds with the medieval church. Legend holds that Jacques de Molay, as flames consumed him on a small island in the Seine River, issued a final challenge to his persecutors. He supposedly cursed both King Philip and Pope Clement to join him before God's judgment within a year. Whether by coincidence or something more mysterious, both men died within months of Molay's execution. 7 centuries later, we remain haunted by the same questions that may have driven the Templars. What is the true nature of spiritual authority? Can ancient wisdom be reconciled with faith? Does truth belong to institutions or to humanity? The Templars' greatest legacy may be this enduring reminder: knowledge is power, and those who seek it beyond approved boundaries have always faced the choice between silence and martyrdom. Perhaps in the end, the Church's greatest fear was realized. In trying to the Templars, they immortalized them, transforming a monastic military order into an eternal symbol of forbidden knowledge that continues to challenge official histories and inspire seekers of hidden truth. The seal is broken. The search continues.